Morning.
How you doing?
Fabulous. And you?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Just the
What are those? What are those two little contraptions, the cups you got next to you?
These are the latest product to come out of the mind of Scott Suprina. This is a project, interestingly enough, my old friend Joe Colarusso, my mentor, when he came and helped me start my business back up, insisted that if I had an idea that was not a seat, because my old business was stadium seating, that I had to disregard that idea and not think about it. So this idea has been in my mind for about 8 years. And since I sold the company, I've really put the pedal to the metal and making it become a reality. And what you're looking at here is a product we call the Verloom. And Verloom, ver is the French word for glass, and heirloom. That's the combination. That's how you get the name, because the Verloom is designed for weddings or special events or sporting events. And it would be engraved with the name of the people getting married, the date, perhaps the place they're getting married, whatever you want to put on there commemoratively. And when the best man gets up to make a speech, everybody at the wedding will have one of these at their table. And they will pick up their champagne Verloom, and they will all pop their own cork. And then they will simply take it, screw the top off, put the cup on top, twist it, and toast. The beauty of the Verloom is, and you'll have to excuse me, cut. Where's my ring? Make sure this screws on. Hold on.
You don't want to show them a plated one?
No, I don't care.
That's already together?
We'll get to that later. So where was I? So now you have the cup with the champagne in it. So you've made your toast. Everybody, when they arrived, received a table location ring that has their name engraved and their seat, their table number, table 1, table 20, whatever it may be. So after finishing the toast, they then take their ring, napkin ring, and screw it on the bottom of the Verloom, thusly. And when they go home at the end of the night, they have a memory for the rest of their lives with them of your wedding, with their attendance. And when you go to their house, you probably drink out of these glasses. And they toast new things and New Year's and your next anniversary and things like that. So the Verloom will be coming soon to a party near you, to an event near you. For the Super Bowl, it would have both teams on either side. And when you left, you would get your championship ring, because there can only be one winner. That's the Verloom. That's an idea that I came up with. And it brings up the new paradigm in business, which I was speaking about earlier. Verloom will be set up to only generate the owners of the company and the people working there 40% of the profit. 40% of the profit will be put into a fund to help young entrepreneurs and businessmen start their companies, and it will be a fund free of charges for profit. So it's not an idea to make money. It's not an idea to put money in my pocket or other people's pocket. I want to assemble a group of people who can consult on anything from fabric product lines, shirts and hats and things, to real estate ideas, to things like that, and fund it via the profits of Verloom. I think that it would be a nice model if we started to take care of other people once we reached a certain level of prosperity. So Verloom will endeavor to do that.
To me, the Verloom is about memories and holding and encapsulating a moment in time and always going back and having a reference to that moment.
Well, one of the beautiful things about the ring, if it's a marriage situation, this year I would have my 39th year ring on here, because I'll be married 39 years this year to just a wonderful woman that I hope to spend the rest of my life with. So I wish I had a Verloom, but I will have one at my anniversary this year, because I'll start a little late. But I will make my own Verloom, so that's nice. But it's a product. The idea came to me visually, which I've never had before. I looked at a bottle of beer and it suddenly transposed before my eyes during daytime, not in a dream. And I didn't know if it would work or not. And one of the things that many people will find coincidental, the machine the Verloom is made on, I actually owned for my seating business. So I don't know how many people could go in their regular business, have this idea, walk downstairs and make one. But I was able to do that. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think I'm headed down this path for a lot of good reasons. So we hope to be able to bring you the future of Heirloom and more refined as we're going through the process now. We make it actually right here behind the studio. So the studio space is in front and Heirloom Manufacturing is in the back. And as you can see, it's going well.
You told me a story off camera during lunch.
You're going to make me tell it twice?
Oh, we're going to go.
Twice in one day? I don't know if my hair will stand up, but I'll go for it.
We're going to. About that job you had to do at the Empire State Building.
Yeah, I had a job, it's got to be 30 years ago. Helmsley Spears, the old owners, I don't think they own it anymore, for the Empire State Building, called me to rent a tiered decking system to go up to the observation deck on the roof of the Empire State Building. They called on a Wednesday afternoon, and I needed to meet them in there Thursday night. This was an emergency. So I went in. It was a time I was coming back from my struggles in business and just getting my feet under me and starting to actually put some money in my own pocket and not just pay back old vendors. So it was exciting, and I went in there and met them, got out of the elevator, and there were about 13 or 15 people on the observation deck of the Empire State Building. 12 or 13 of them had suits on, so this was all high-powered people in the company with drawings and sketches and all this other stuff telling me, we need to build this. I said, guys, if you want this installed Saturday night, we need to build it out of something I have in stock because we're not going to have time to build all that. So they said Saturday's really important. I said, let me go back to the shop, take your drawing, see what I can come close with, and then I'll get back to you with a price and a drawing, and if you like it, we can be here Saturday night. So the guy said to me before I left, he said, look, I'm in charge. I'm the guy who has to approve this. So when you're done pricing it, call me, give me a couple hours to get your price approved, and then we can move forward so there's no delay. I said, okay. And I went back to the shop. I was excited. It was an opportunity to make real money. So I went back to my shop and I found product with a little bit of adjustment could work for them, and called the guy up. And frankly, I needed the money badly, and I knew they needed the product badly. So the market would bear price went up. And I looked at the job and probably would have rented it to a school district for something about $25,000. And I knew it was going to be hard to get upstairs. So I went to $72,000. Called the man on the phone and said, here's the drawings. I can do it for $72,000. He said, go ahead. He didn't say he had to get off the phone and get it approved or anything else. So I knew my price was too low, but it was still $72,000. So I was excited about the job. Packed up and went in there with a friend of mine who was a grain trader at the time on Wall Street. And on weekends, if I had work, he'd come with me and we'd enjoy our time together and build something. So we show up on the roof of the Empire State Building about 10 o'clock at night. To my surprise, in an hour, we get all our equipment upstairs, which was the biggest of my worries. And we're putting things together, and there's 8 units that are identical around the top of the Empire State Building inside. And we get 2 of them done. It's about 2 a.m. And I walk up to Jeff. I go, Jeff, I don't know what I'm going to do. The tech screws. Now, for those of you who don't know, a tech screw is a screw that the front of it is actually a drill bit. So it drills itself into metal and then tightens against the metal. So the tech screws I bought at the time were defective and they couldn't drill through the metal. So I couldn't apply the Lexan shield that you could see through to the front of it. And I knew the people at Helmsley Spears would not want to pay me if I wasn't done by 8 o'clock in the morning. There was no all-night Home Depot at that time, so I didn't know what to do. And Jeff, being encouraging as always, told me, let's just keep building, we'll figure something out. So I'm trying everything I can think of to get these screws to work. They're not working. Now it's about 2 hours later, maybe 4 a.m, and I've got one left to do, and Jeff goes, let's take a walk. I go, Jeff, where are we going to walk? He goes, let's go outside. So we go outside for a walk, and he opens the door, and he's standing by the door, and he goes, it's raining. I go, I really don't care that it's raining. I kind of like the rain. So I walked forward. I get to the other side of an air conditioning box on the roof, and I look down, and I look back at Jeff, and I go, Jeff, we're going to be all right. And he goes, what's up? And I bend down, and out of a stainless steel milk pail, like the kind you milk a cow into, there's tech screws piled right up, dome to the top, full to the top with tech screws, the right length, the right size, and complete with a rubber washer that I'd never seen before in a tech screw, so I wouldn't break the Lexan. They were better tech screws than I had brought with me, and they were on the roof of the Empire State Building. And I scooped them up in my hand, and he looked at me and he said, "What the fuck?" And I walked by him into the place, my feet not touching the ground, and screwed the Lexan to the front of the face. And when they arrived, they gave us a check. And you can think what you may about it, but it was the Empire State Building, and there was a bucket of tech screws waiting for me. I'm not sure. Maybe they were there because I needed them, but it is a true story. You can call Jeff. I don't currently have his number, but it's a true story, and it happened to me, and it is quite miraculous in my estimation.
No, what does this mean? What does this? We had a conversation, right? And as always, I was what's the proper word? What's another word for devil's advocate? Contrarian? I was a contrarian to your
Darth Vader-esque?
No. I'm on the good side.
Is that a little harsh? You're not on the dark side?
I'm on the good guy side.
Go ahead.
And I said, this is just, it's hard work. And you said, Trev, what does that have to do with hard work? And why did we have to put hard in front of work?
I read a lot, and I was talking about James Allen the other day. And work, my dad was the hardest working man I've ever met. And I describe him that way because I wasn't doing his work. It appeared to be hard work to me. And maybe that's the point. To my dad, I don't think he was working hard. I think he was loving what he was doing. I think he was driven by the end result of the work. And I think when that is your mindset, when that is your way you look at it, it's not hard work. People who describe it as hard work are watching it or saying, I wouldn't work that hard for this much money. That's an excuse. You know, when I worked as a young man doing any job that I had to do to make money, I did it to get somewhere else. My function was not to do that job forever. My function was to learn somewhat that skill and then move forward. That's, you know, like we said before, that's working and apprenticing, if you will. But I don't think for me, even all the years at Seating Solutions, and I'm sure people who knew me at the time would say I worked hard. I worked with passion. I was driven, and I worked long hours. But that was not the premier thought in my head. I was grateful. I felt really good when we completed a project. The hard work is a description other people use of what you do, perhaps that they don't want to do. I never got off a job and said that was hard work in my whole life. And I know I've worked what other people would describe as hard. And I think that's the path to being able to work somewhat endlessly till your work is done. And you work for the good of work and for the ability to have honor, to honor yourself, to say, I put my all into this and I did that. And that's a much better feeling than cashing a check. You know, and there were many times I told you before where you anticipated making a ton of money where you didn't make that much money, but the joy of doing the work was still there. So, you know, I think people looking in describe stuff as hard work. I think working should be joyous and rewarding. And I don't care. I mean, frankly, I could do almost any job and have fun doing it. That's just my nature.
See, where me and you part ways is when we're having conversations about business and work, and you go to the spiritual side, and in my mind, I'm like, you got to where you are because you put in the work. It wasn't all spiritual. And you'll say, well, I'm a young grasshopper.
Weed hopper.
You don't understand yet. because you're not there and you don't see what I see on this, let's say, enlightened side. But I think to dismiss the sweat equity you put in is doing a disservice to the audience.
I think would I tell you that people would say Scott Suprina is one of the hardest working people I know? Yes, they would say that. Do you get that Scott Suprina is saying to you, that was not the hard part? The hard part was sweating payroll. The hard part was paying the rent. The hard part was wondering where the next job was coming from. But the work was the work. Hard never played into that. The hard was getting up and going to work when you felt like you couldn't make enough money. But when you could make money and they were paying you to do the work, the hell's hard about that? You got a guarantee on the back end. Work for somebody who doesn't pay you, that's hard. That's hard. You know, in the society, and I submit that you're, wow, can I do the math? Half my age. You're half my age. And in that time frame, work became a bad word. Work is something you would like to try to avoid or not?
No, not me.
Oh, hard work is something you would like to try to avoid?
I don't think so.
So what makes it hard? The hard part is I go to the bank, they won't give me a loan, and I need the money, and I know I have a future. That's hard, but that ain't work. That's circumstance. There's nothing hard about putting a bleacher together. There's nothing hard about putting 20,000 seats of bleacher together. There's nothing hard about it. It's ABC. And by the way, the beauty of it is, and I hope you've had this experience, when you hit the sweet spot and you're in rhythm and you have 25 or 50 guys going on a job and you're making time and it's like music and you turn around and the job is done, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing hard about that. There's something orchestra-like. There's something that is just so sweet that the time is crunched. And guys in production will know it. You don't have time. You can't get this done. You can't get it done. We have to get it done. No one on set ever talks about we can't get this done. And then all of a sudden you're done and the deadline's made. But it wasn't hard work. It was a friggin' glorious beehive functioning. Everybody was doing their shit. Everybody was working together. It's not hard work. Hard work is a name people gave it to avoid it. If they talked about it and said it's beautiful cleansing work, people would not be able to tell you, I'm not going to do that. Why not? It's beautiful and cleansing and rewarding. Fuck that. It looks like hard work to me. That's an excuse, hard work. Hard work's an excuse. The hard stuff is financing the work, getting paid for the work. You know, and that's different in my lifetime too. When a guy used to shake my dad's hand, 90% of the time he did what he said he'd do. Today, that's a vanishing thing.
Expand on that a little bit.
I've already talked about it. There is a thing in business where if I can trick you, coerce you, con you into delivering product before I give you the money, there's a large percentage of people who wouldn't give you your money or would give you less money, despite the fact they said they give you the money. When I was a kid, my dad had 70% less of that. That was unacceptable. Men had honor. Don't get me started on politics because that'll just go way downhill.
We don't want to do that.
No, all the guys without honor are politicians, but.
We don't want to do that.
Okay, we didn't do that.
Okay.
Edit away. But yeah, I think you just said to me, I'm trying to remember what you said first. I think you get stuck, and I think I was stuck, frankly, you know, telling you the facts as I remember them. I believed what you believed. I believed that business operated by a bit different set of rules than me and my friend in the schoolyard. I don't want to do business that way. I want to do business with my friend in the schoolyard. I want to tell him what I'm going to do. I want to deliver on what I'm going to do. And I want him to deliver what he told me he'd deliver. It's not complicated. And it has its built-in ethic. And I mean, the hard work thing throws me off because I really do feel that hard work is what other people call it who aren't willing to do it. And I will share with you on that note, a friend of mine named I.M Youman told me a long time ago, one quote that I will never forget and I have used when I was in the trenches and tired of doing the work. Successful people are willing to do what unsuccessful people won't do. That's true. When you are on a job, when you're looking at your boss and you're fed up with your boss and he tells you to do something and you tell him, fuck no, I'm not doing that, you probably would have been better off if you just did it. Managed your way to doing it and then went home and decided on the best way to exit. And I say that for people who are employed. My own experience was I'm on a job, it's 3 a.m. I should have got home by 11. I'm probably going to be there till 6 because something didn't work out right or they shipped the wrong material. I have to fix it. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, hundreds of times, I have said to myself in my career, you will stay here now because successful people are willing to do what unsuccessful people won't do. And I laughed when I said it. And as I said it, towards the 100th time, I totally understood the truth of it. That is the difference. That's what separates the men from the boys, living up to your word, putting in the effort when the client knows you will not quit. Clients love that. You're doing it for them. I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for my own self-respect. I was doing it for the love of the work. I was doing it to protect what I had built. And the byproduct was the client was happy. None of this is tricky. The tricky part is, and I feel extremely blessed that I don't have to work with people any longer that I don't want to work with. That is, in the business world, that's the top of the heap. When you don't have to take the deal, when you don't have to get that guy's money. And by the way, some people take a different path than I do, and they always need everybody's money. Their goal is to stack the money up. Just not my goal. My goal is to stack up the happy.
Were you writing your intentions down during the journey? Did you have a notebook? Did you have something that you can go back to, a vision board or whatever you call it, to see where you wanted to go and navigate and kind of how you wanted to navigate there?
I tell you, I aspired to have a vision board and I never had the stick-to-itiveness for it. But the other thing I learned from the path of my experience, which was, and this is one way to get ahead of the curve, is to do what I did. And in a short period of time, make a vast amount of mistakes. And if you survive it, you will have really good information on how to proceed. But I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that. What I did in recent times, I don't believe I need a vision board. I believe I need my thoughts create my world. As a man thinketh. Okay? I believe that. I believe that what I think about, I can manifest. And if I've spiritually lived by the laws and am treating people the right way and have developed good karma, there's no reason that I shouldn't be insisted in having that happen. And what I've learned to do is look for where is life assisting me and where is life fighting me? Because I believe those are messages. I believe for me, I am being assisted to be the best person I can be. Being assisted to help other people, being assisted to share the wealth, to I mean, the joy comes from that. The joy comes from me seeing other people have joy. I mean, there's no greater success to me than watching my family grow and prosper and see some of their dreams come true. That's just the icing on the cake, if you will.
To me, hard work, the part you skip over is...
I do like to skip.
Yeah.
I am a skipper.
Yeah, the part you skip over, and which you finally kind of didn't skip over here, is the consistency of doing the right thing day in and day out, getting the business day in and day out, and being the leader. Because a lot of times when you're a leader, leaders don't always want to lead. You know, it's the easy thing to do, and the part that's not hard is to do what you want to do and not have to carry people on your back day in and day out.
Well,
The hard work comes on that side of things.
Well, again, I think if you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, I don't think I'd call it hard work. Was it hard to lead for 30-something years? Was it exhausting? Yeah, it was exhausting. Do I regret it? No. Do I think it was overly hard? No. Do I think if it was easier, there'd be more people doing it? Yeah. You know, shouldn't it be that way? Shouldn't it be that way that if you want the gold ring, if you want to be happy, if you want to really feel the love that's available, that you have to discipline yourself? And I think maybe in my estimation, the reason I don't go for the hard work, I think you have to be very disciplined. Discipline is what I lacked as a young man. Discipline. And it's interesting, and I'm going to try to say this the way that I mean it. I relate discipline to the word disciple. I relate it to it because I think discipline leads you to being a better person. Discipline gives you the higher measure of who you are. When you're undisciplined, when you're going on your bestial tendencies, when you're feeding that side of your life, there's not much there. There's a good weekend, there's a good night, there's a good dose, there's a good moment. When you're leading a disciplined life and you're doing everything that you can do to be a good person, the length of joy is longer. The time you spend joyful is longer. And in answer to your question, I worked for so long and so continuously and so with an unrelenting responsibility that just now do I get to sow seeds for recreation. Just now. Do I think I overdid it in the work side? Yeah. But do I think I dug a big hole at the start? I dug that hole. I had the opportunity. I was the same makeup of a person. I could have started out and not dug that hole. Life would have been much easier.
That was college for you, though.
It was the best education I could have.
That was your college.
So apparently that's what I needed. Yeah. But I'm saying here, I would substitute the word for discipline for where you're saying hard work. Because discipline to me is hard mentally, or was hard mentally. Now that I got it, now that the light bulb went on, and said discipline is not denying you something. It's bringing you something. You know, I'm going to be disciplined. I'm not going to go out tonight. Well, shit, I'm going to miss going out tonight. Why would I want to do that? I could go out tonight and have a good time. Well, if I can stay disciplined, my nights will be better for years. You know, what's the big mistake that people make? Trying to have, settling for something they can have now rather than for something that they want most.
You almost had me. You did.
I had you at hello.
No, you almost had me, but where you lost me was you always say, in hindsight, right now, because it's hindsight, I may have worked a little too hard. I think that's crap because it's hard for you to say, having seen the fruits of your labor come to fruition right in this moment, because that work you put in and that extra work you put in quite possibly could have been the reason you've gotten and your family has gotten to where they are currently. I'm almost on board.
No. And I'm going to tell you that the education of this is you're missing the faith. And like I said to you, it's funny to me, you don't argue with any of my experiences that lead me to something you understand. But when I tell you an experience that you don't understand, then you say, I'm not on board yet. That's normal. What I'm telling you is I worked too hard because I was making it happen. I was being disciplined and I was going to force this to happen. I was going to be on top of this. I was going to build the strongest company. I was going to do this. And now I know I was never alone. It was never my work only doing it. I had help. I had tech screws on the roof of the Empire State Building. Okay? If you had an epiphany and you're living your life and you're a young guy and you walk out of here one day and you go, you know what, Scott's got it. I can trust that there's an energy that's going to help me. I can put in my effort. I can live my life right. I can focus on doing the right things and not so much worry about the barter of today, the this for that. If you bought into that today and walked out that door, you would be equivalent to me looking back in hindsight and realizing I could have relaxed a little more. I don't believe I ever forced this to happen. I believe that it was brought for me. I believe that hard work, effort, treating people well, being a good person, caring, delivering on what you said, all the rules of being a good person or Buddhist or whatever you want to go to. If you're living that way, your outcome will be greater than if you're not. And that I'm sure of. And hey, my extra discipline, my extra hard work, I don't fault myself for working hard. I'm not saying that to you. And working hard is an outside looking in. Did I work hard? Sure, I worked hard. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, I loved it.
You on your cell phone a lot? Do you use your cell phone?
No.
No? Yeah.
No. I don't use my cell phone a lot. Shit, yesterday it rang 3 times.
Well, I'm talking about like the apps and stuff.
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
Not at all.
I think it's really draining. It's like one of the worst inventions in the world.
Are we going backwards?
Huh?
Is that the intent, that we go backwards? Why would you give me a way that you can always access me when for life people have checked out at 5, shut that door and said, thank God? With the cell phone. It's the craziest thing that was ever invented.
I'm not even talking about the cell phone. I'm talking about the fucking apps and the social media. I think it's terrible. But for the business side of life, it's really good. Like to get yourself out there. What's up, dog? To get yourself out there.
Come over here on camera. I need a kiss. I need a kiss on camera. Come over here. You don't come over here. We're going to fight. Love you. That's my baby.
We good? No, yeah, I don't. We'll have another podcast on that.
On what?
Social media. I think it's necessary. Yeah, but I think we judge people off of.
I think it's a tool, but
definitely a tool.
But what the younger generation is doing with it, let me tell you what. The fact that I could Google the answer to questions and the answer to things will handicap future generations beyond anything you can imagine. Creativity will be back 100 years based on the fact that I can Google the answer to a question that if I had to find it out for myself, I'd learn 7 other things I know nothing about to get the answer to that question.
I think we're going to agree.
Wow.
I think we're actually going to agree.
I'm not comfortable with that at all.
Yeah.
Let me rethink that. Hang on.
No, I think that there's a solid point in that. But I really do.
No,
get
there's
both
more
sides.
volume out there. And the other problem I have with that I don't even know if you guys remember back to it. It used to be that if I drove off Long Island and drove for 2 hours, I was in a strange land.
Right. Yeah.
Things were different.
Yeah.
By the way, that was totally cool because the strange land has its reason for being different.
Right.
Now everything's so homogenized. You know, the day after somebody creates a new hairstyle, a new pair of jeans or some shit, they got them in Idaho.
Yes.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
You know, every places should have their own personality.
Yeah.
They should have a natural culture, but that's gone.
I mean, you see even middle schoolers now look.
Boy, do I sound old right now,
No.
even to me.
Do you?
Sonny, you and that fucking computer.
If you were to get off, if you were to give yourself advice, right? But more specifically, because I'm gonna ask this question 100 times, like literally, on different parts, on work and hard work and discipline at age 34, what would it be?
That being disciplined for me was the missing component. Being disciplined in meditation, in work, in cutting down the play, cutting down recreation, cutting down drug use, cutting down drinking. Discipline, what would be my best life and how would it look? And if I know that, why am I not doing that? Discipline of, if I really want to make this my best life, why am I doing this shit that makes it my best day or my best hour? And it's not my best hour. It's my most entertaining, cheap thrill friggin' hour. When I'm not, you lose sight. And discipline for me was the ingredient that if I could go back and tap young Scott on the shoulder, I would tell him, look, discipline, get up early, take care of your responsibilities, spend some time with yourself, get to know yourself, love yourself, and get home and take care of your family and do what you're supposed to do. Discipline. And if you're disciplined, you will achieve a elevated level of success, which will allow you more time to do things correctly or better. But for me, it's no question that the missing component for me was discipline. I had a lot of gifts and I could recreate with the best of them, but I sold myself a bill of goods that recreation was better than self-improvement, life improvement, family, loving. You can ask me again anytime. I'll expound further.
That's all we got.
That's all she wrote.
That's all she got.
Thank you for coming.